Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Welcome to another exciting and informative edition of ATDC Radio on the Business Radio X network. Stone Payton, Lee Cantor here with you. Lee, this is going to be a fantastic segment. Please join me in welcoming to the program with NextJuris, Mr. Nathan Huynh. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Well, Nathan, before we get too far into things, can you tell us a little bit about NextJuris? How are you serving folks?
Well, NextJuris is a platform that's made for the legal industry. It's essentially a knowledge sharing and expertise matching platform. What we do is we provide a corporate in-house lawyer with legal content from trusted law firms through a video-driven platform that brings learning directly to them. So they're getting learning in one destination instead of having to peck around at various law firms' websites or, attending live events and things like that to get the legal resources they need.
So now, how is it done currently if they're not using NextJuris? What is their process now?
Well, the process now is, so the legal industry is, it's a huge industry. In-house legal department probably spends about $300 billion a year on legal services. And, the average cost of lawyers, they're kind of expensive for corporate needs. It's easily $500 an hour. And so law firms, want to engage with in-house legal department to be able to offer, their services. But it's a competitive field. There are many great law firms out there. So one of the ways that the law firms try to engage with in-house is to offer, to showcase their thought leadership and their expertise in the area. If you're in-house, you're tasked with managing the legal needs of the company, and it's diverse, and you're not going to have the knowledge in every area.
So sometimes they have to hire kind of somebody that has specific knowledge.
Yes.
And then they have to work with an outside law firm.
Yes.
And so and your problem addresses how they find the appropriate.
Yeah. So currently right now, a law firm engages with in-house by offering legal content. They'll offer educational content, keep legal insights and development to keep in-house updated to the current law. And in a way to showcase their expertise.
Right.
And the way they're doing that now is through live events, which they offer for free. They'll have seminars and things like that to people to come. But you know how hard it is to go to a seminar, to live things. The other way, the more forward-thinking firms, and there are very few of these right now, will actually record those live events and turn them into online training programs for their clients and in-house lawyers. Now, the problem with that is law firms are not technology companies.
Sure.
So they typically, will license a third-party platform to deliver this online training. The second problem is, in essence, the content is only accessible to their clients. For an in-house lawyer to get the content, you basically have to grind through websites, with various law firms' website. And you might go to one law firm, get some content, another law firm. And remember, there are very few of these firms to begin with to have the online training program. So what we do is we change all that. We provide a platform that's free to law firm to deliver all their content through us, and we deliver it directly to in-house legal team. And it's free.
As they need it for whatever that specific bit of knowledge is. So It's curated.
It's curated, and it is curated based on their legal area of interest, and their industry sectors and things like that. And so instead of, you have to, we change the perspective. Instead of, in-house lawyers having to go and seek out expertise, we bring them the expertise. And, they hold a purse. They are the spender in the legal industry, and, they shouldn't have to go out there to find all the expert knowledge they need.
So now the business model is what? So it's free for the in-house, and then
it's free for in-house, and it's free for law firms. Uh-huh. So how do we make money? There aren't that many in-house lawyers. There are 1.3 million lawyers in the U.S., and only about 10% are in-house. So the other 90% still need the legal education. still need to get their continuing education every year to qualify to
Right.
their requirement as to practice law. And so basically we sell the content to those 90%.
So they're the ones that are providing it for the in-house.
The law firms are providing it to the in-house for free.
Right.
Right. And they do that right now anyway.
Right. So
And
they don't mind doing that
they don't
because
mind doing that
that's
because-
kind of lead gen for them, right? That's how they do business development.
That's right. That's how they showcase their expertise, their thought leadership, and they want a piece of that $300 billion legal services business.
And then those 90% that are providing the content to the 10% of in-house, they're the people that pay you to be part of the platform.
They don't pay us to deliver the content. What we do is the practicing lawyer, the lawyers of the law firm, would pay us to get content, like the aggregated content, the same content that the in-house people would get.
Mm-hmm.
So
they get it in order to do the continuing education.
to
that
keep
they have
legal
to
updates and
update
things
it.
like that. Yes.
And then, so how did you get into this? Well, are you a lawyer? What's your background?
Yes. In fact, a lawyer for 15 years, actually more than 15 years now. I was practicing in Silicon Valley, at some big law firms and, in-house legal team as well. My partners, I have two business partners. They're, co-founders and they're also lawyers. One of them has been practicing in Atlanta for 15 years as a patent lawyer, at major firms. The other one was, GC at several public companies and private companies. That's where I met him 10 years ago. And he was also a partner at Wilson Sonsini. And we just really saw the profound gap in this industry, of law firms trying to engage with in-house. And the way they were doing it was just, not convenient and best for in-house.
And then, so once you kind of have that realization, you mentioned lawyers typically aren't kind of first movers, early adopters.
They're not.
Right. So how do you kind of open their minds to this kind of new thinking?
Well, in a way, it's sort of new thinking. In a way, it's not, because they're already generating the content right now. Right. And right now it's, they do the live event. Some of them will record it, and not many law firms will actually have a learning management system delivered to clients. And so afterward, it just sits fallow, and, and we're just saying, take the same content, put it on our platform, and reach, and give it to in-house that are really looking for, the learning content.
So now, how did you find these first people to pay you?
Well, it's a premium model. So we don't charge law firms to put content on.
So it's freemium in the sense that they can put the content on. The in-house can look at it for free.
Yes.
But at some point, somebody has to pay. So they're going to pay to get kind of higher up in the listing, or they get some.
No. So the way we do it now is, the lawyers remember the 90% of lawyers who are not in-house, they would still like to get the same content, the continuing education credits and things like that, and we sell it to them.
And then, so you get to, how do you get the accreditation to allow them to get the continuing education?
We don't do that. So the law firms provide that.
Uh-huh. But does somebody have to bless the content to say that's good enough? If you view this, then you're going to get.
So typically the state bars, not every state's the same, but state bars typically would do that. But law firms would typically have the certification to bless their own content.
Okay. So then their content is deemed worthy enough to be, if you watch it, then you're accredited or pass a test or something like that. And then, so then you're collecting all of that in your learning management system?
Yeah. So, imagine, right now, if you go to our, platform, we just recently launched last month, and we got, around good 10 big law firms or so providing content already. Now, right away, you're better off than one law firm that you can go to.
Right. So now you have choices.
Yes.
Right.
And they're big law firms. We have some of our early adopters include Norton Rose, Oaktree Deakin, Morris Manning Martin, which is a big firms with supporting
here
ATDC.
in Atlanta, sure.
Yep.
And then, so what's your biggest challenge now?
The biggest challenge now is basically getting a wider adoption with all the law firms, to get them to know about the platforms, to this is marketing type stuff, right?
Right.
And actually, the other biggest challenge is, as you've quite, if you observed correctly, law firms are not quick movers, right? They're very conservative, and not many law firms produce video content. It's interesting because if you look at video traffic on the internet worldwide, it's like 85% video right now. Law firms is probably at, you're talking about 2% or less. So that's the biggest challenge.
And then, so part of your challenge is to teach them how to create the content, or is that?
Well, we want to encourage them to,
right. You encourage them, but at some point they have to do it.
So the way we do it right now is we look at law firms that already have content. There are many forward-thinking law firms.
Like
right?
many in terms, like how many? Like 10% of 10%, that 90%?
10%. Let's say we have the top 200 law firm. Maybe, let's say a good 10% are really
40
forward thinking. Yeah. But that's better than what's existing right now, where you have to go website by website. Right. And 40 law firms still produce a lot of rich content. I mean, there are some really good law firms out there like Norton Rose and Oaktree, to produce just great legal content. So is Morris Manning for the startup communities and things like that.
Now, is some of the challenge that a lot of even the ones that do produce content, they think that themselves are good at doing this, but they're not really, on-air personalities that have, that are capturing someone's attention. Like you mentioned, that most content is visual now through, video. Most of those are not really great quality either.
You're very keen in our observation. I mean, we've talked to many firms in the Atlanta area, obviously. And a lot of firms would come to us and say, we're excited about your platform. We want to participate, but right now we don't have video content. And I'm like, well, it's not so hard to generate video content, but they're more conservative firms, and they are looking at CN and quality type production, which will cost a lot to do. And
also it's their brand they were trying to protect. So they don't want to put their people in a way that makes them not look as good as their brand to warrant those $500 an hour.
Yes. But interestingly, if you look at the way that partners now go and deliver content, I mean, partners generally go lecture and speak for free, right? To let people know about them. They'll go on programs like PLI, which is a very big thing. It's a Practicing Law Institute that generate a lot of great continuing education content to keep lawyers up to date. And if you look at them, they're mainly like what we're doing now, talk show, podcasts, or, they're sitting on a panel and at a hotel with somebody recording. That is what the legal market, that's what we're used to consuming right now.
Right. But again, from a perceived brand quality, that's not very visually interesting. It's not very compelling. That may be the way that it's done now, but it's not something that someone's going, oh my God, that's worth paying attention to.
That's true. But that's the bar that we're at right now. And it's also the partners that go on these shows represent their firm. Right. So it's the firm brand carries with it. Now, what we hope is that by creating this platform, we will generate better and better video because they'll see what other firms are doing.
Right. That's pushing the envelope a little bit.
That's right.
And to make it a little more visually compelling, because some things have to use video in order to communicate the messaging. It's more show than tell. But a lot of the legal stuff is more tell than show, and they're just using video as kind of the medium to communicate.
And you're right that there are other startups out there that I know that are trying to up the quality of the videos, so they would take the challenge themselves.
Right, that's not your lane, though.
We're not, because we don't want to do video production.
Right,
we don't know anything about video production. We'll let the firms do it. We'll let the individual lawyers do it, and we're hoping that over the long run, the quality will go up naturally when they see what others are doing.
And for you, how come you chose ATDC? You mentioned earlier that, your background was in Silicon Valley.
Well, when I first started this, my partners in Atlanta, right? And we were looking to see, I've actually started looking to developed this out of Silicon Valley because obviously
that's where you work.
Yes,
right?
and it's where everything's at.
Right.
When I started looking into it, I started looking to getting programmers. Actually, I myself was a former engineer, and so was my partner. So I've done a little dabbling in programming, but not that's after 15 years of law, it's not useful anymore. Right. But the problem is getting talent in Silicon Valley is really hard. Unless you're in Uber or Facebook,
right.
where you're in a niche market like us, it's really hard. And in Atlanta, it's just a perfect place. I mean, you have great Georgia Tech's here, Emory.
Right. So you have the technological talent, and then you have law firms, at least regional sized law firms the
cost is not crazy.
Right.
Right. To get talent and then you get the support of like a place like ATDC, where there are many incubators in the Silicon Valley area, but their model is a little different. Like ATDC is really just there to help us and not
take a piece of equity.
Right. That's right.
That's a big differentiator.
Well, it's a big differentiator, not just from that side, but if they're taking a piece of equity, they also tend to companies with a lot more potential, not a niche market player like us.
And then, so when you were choosing amongst different places to land to do this, so how was that? Like, you landed on ATDC ultimately, right? But you were choosing amongst several?
No, it's as I mentioned, my partner's a patent lawyer, and he was actually a patent attorney at Duane Morris, and he quit and started his own practice. Mm-hmm. And then one of the clients that he represented was actually a prolific inventor, Georgia Tech professor. Mm-hmm. I think some of his inventions are actually part of the ATDC startup now.
Right.
I think software and stuff like that. But and he was the one that says, "Well, you guys should join ATDC." And actually, we've never heard of ATDC before that. And we started looking into it, and he was very supportive. He says he ran a lot of his startup through ATDC, mm-hmm. His patents and things like that. And that's when we started looking into it.
So that was the first time you had ever heard of it?
Well, we're not startup people, we're lawyers, so we don't really.
But you were in Silicon Valley,
yes.
So the reputation of ATDC hasn't at least gotten to where you were in Silicon Valley.
No, it didn't. It hadn't.
And so then you hear about it and you check it out. So what made you say, okay, I guess maybe let's play this out? Well,
it's an incredible program. ATDC is an incredible program. Hard to compare it to other startups.
So once you became aware of it, it was kind of a no-brainer at that point?
Yeah, it was. Well, the tough part was getting in.
Getting in, right. That was a new hurdle, right?
Yes.
So now what do you need more of right now? How can we help you?
Well, actually, we've been actively working with ATDC. They've been very supportive. Mm-hmm. One of the things we've been trying to do is to create legal content for the startup community. So for the ATDC community. As I said, John Avery here, we've been working with him. He's been very supportive. We've been bringing firms like Morris Manning to create the sort of the startup content to help startups. I mean, we're kind of fortunate and in a way, not very fortunate to be started with 3 lawyers. So we don't have the legal needs, but we have a lot of other needs.
Right.
But we can contribute it back. So we want to build legal content, legal focus, startup hub,
So the startups can access this.
Yes.
And then maybe save some legal fees.
Yes.
Because they would get some at least general knowledge.
General knowledge. And also, the platform is actually geared toward you, matching you with expertise that you really need. Right. Mm-hmm. So, law firm lawyers are really expensive, and you want to find the right expert. If you have IP issues, intellectual property issues, or anything like that, you can go and see lawyers who may be more fitting what you need. And also, what our platform does is there's an engagement element as well. It allows you to directly engage with outside lawyers who produce the content, or who are from law firms that you can ask them questions, chat, and things like that without the costly having to engage them first.
Right. And that we can kind of see if it's kind of a fit. You're
Yes.
getting to see them kind of perform, so you can say, hey, you know what, this person's personality would be a good fit for us. They seem smart, knowledgeable, and I kind of like their way they're communicating.
That's right. That's right.
And then if somebody wanted to learn more about NextJuris, what's the coordinates?
Go to nextjuris.com.
And then you can get on board in the freemium. Right.
It's, you know what, the site is actually free to anybody who wants to sign up, even in-house in-house lawyers and law firm lawyers. It's just that if you want the premium content, so we have courses and we have short videos. So a lot of law firms would put up like 5 minutes legal updates on something. Those are all free. The only where we charge is basically for the courses.
Good stuff. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Thank you.
All right, this is Lee Cantor for Stone Payton. We'll see you next time on ATDC Radio.